Hello, welcome back to the Go For Two podcast. I'm Liam, your host, and we are here for a Week 9 preview. And to join me on the preview, as always, is the man, the myth, the legend, who's probably got many Tyler Shook things printed as we speak for the New Orleans Saints fans, and of course, Mr. Mugs NFL. Patrick, how you doing, mate?
I'm all right. I'm a bit upset. It's week 9 coming up, so that signals pretty halfway through the regular season after this week, which is a bit scary, really, isn't it? I mean, college football, the playoff rankings come out for the first time next week, and that always signals that we're moving into that portion of the season as well. So I'm like, no, just slow down.
And you've got 2 World Series games left as well in baseball.
And you're going to be shocked to hear this. You will be shocked to know that I am staying up Friday night for Game 6, just in case the Blue Jays clinch.
I found out today that someone in my team at work is a Blue Jays fan. So now he's been telling me all about the Blue Jays and how good their batting lineup is,
and how their starting pitcher from last night earns less than most people in the UK.
Oh, really? Is that the bad?
Yeah, he does. He's a rookie that's come out of absolutely nowhere, but turns out he's one of the best pitchers in baseball. And he's on I think he's on $57,000.
Oh, wow. That's a cool story. That's a cool story. Joy, first time apart from a Super Bowl, I've heard you staying up that late. So hopefully it goes to 16 innings or something like
that. I'll still be there at 6 a.m.
Exactly. Cool. Like I said, we're here to preview week 9 of the NFL season. We've got our usual picks against the spread. We've got 4 games to spend a little bit more time on, and then we will rattle through the other games quite quickly. Because we will end the episode talking about the trade deadline, which is next Tuesday. Maybe some teams that are buyers, some teams that are sellers, and then some players maybe. We might not go as far as player team compensation, but just some players that we think should get moved or might get moved. In terms of scores on the doors, we both got the Chiefs right on Monday Night Football. So it's 65-62 to me. That's 7-point leads evaporated to 3. I won 4 weeks, you won 4 weeks. Week 9's a crucial week in our picks and the NFL, mate. And also, I think fantasy football, we've got trade deadlines coming up. So it feels like week 9, it's a big week for all of us.
It is a big week. I think it's a big swing week for record. I do. Kind of week 9, week 10, you lose a couple of those games sitting there and your record starts looking really bad, doesn't it? And in the playoffs, because the playoffs, they're not, obviously it's still kind of 9 weeks away, but we're starting to look at the playoff picture and think that some teams are nearly out of it already. Obviously some like the Saints or whatever is completely gone, but just there's some teams on the cusp already thinking we need a couple of wins here.
Yeah, agreed. And one team that's on the cusp, been on the cusp since like week 3, is the Baltimore Ravens, and they play tonight at the Miami Dolphins. Lamar Jackson is officially back. No more chicanery around practice squad or scout team. He's officially back. And the Ravens are favoured on the road by 7.5 points on Thursday Night Football. It's a big spread. This isn't one of the ones we'll spend time on because most people listening would have already seen the score if you're listening to this on Friday on your commute to work. So you won again last week, mate. So you're first to pick. We've got Ravens minus 7.5 on the road. Where are we going?
That's horrible. I don't like that. I believe that they're getting healthier. What I've seen, obviously, Lamar and a few others back.
Every single person practiced this week.
Yeah. So it's Thursday Night Football coming off a good win. And it's a horrible spread to go with first. I forgot it would be me, but I'm going to go with Lamar in prime time. He has a great record in prime time. Obviously, he's been off now for what feels like about a month. Both 2-win teams, opposite directions probably for the franchises. But, you know, the Dolphins can kind of short week. It's tough to go on the road and win anywhere. But I'm going to go for Baltimore. And I'm wondering if a couple of players might crop up in our little trade section later from Miami.
Yeah, agreed. I'm going to go with the Ravens as well. It is a big spread. I laugh at this because it doesn't really matter, but I've just got to say it because it's a fact. Lamar's from Miami, so playing in his home state, his home area, he's going to want to try and put on a show. Hopefully that hamstring is fully healthy. But yeah, I'm going to go Ravens as well. I think this game could be the game that does start moving things in terms of the Dolphins giving up on this season. A little bit more officially. Cool. On to Sunday then. We'll start with the 2 games we're going to spend more time on. We'll go to they're both in the AFC, but we'll go to the Broncos at the Texans first. Texans are favoured at home by 1.5 points. We have the top 2 of the top 3 defenses in the NFL by basically every metric. The points total in this game is pretty low, as you can imagine, with these two defenses in. It feels like the Texans are maybe slightly underrated at the moment. And then the Broncos, I think maybe we think they're overrated, but now some people are starting to get back on the bandwagon. I think this could be quite an interesting 6 p.m. game, mate, and maybe a look ahead towards either a playoff matchup or a potential kind of 7-seed matchup if neither of these teams can win a division. I think this game could be quite good.
Right, so what you just said, perhaps underrated at the minute for Houston. I agree in one sense, and then on the other sense, you are coming into week 9 with a losing record. So I do think it's fair. However, are they actually sneaky good? They might, obviously they've got an excellent defense, but so if they can find some rhythm on offense, which is kind of 2 out of the last 3, it was a shame what happened against Seattle. I thought they were quite poor in that game, but against San Francisco and obviously they blew Baltimore out. Play like that, you're going to win some games. This is the exact team that I was talking about a second ago that are on the cusp. The current 9th seed. You lose this game and you're down to a 27% chance of making the playoffs via NFL's ESPN analytics. So, and then you go up to 50% if you can win it. So it just feels like great defense. If the offense can get going, this is a really dangerous team because I actually think the playoff picture, by the way, is really muddled because the Chiefs are the 7th seed. Mm-hmm. So whilst that still remains, you don't expect that 7th seed to drop off, only rise. So it's like Buffalo are also the 5th seed. So it's like you look at it right now and you think, God, the wild card spot looks a bit tricky to get in, to be honest, at the moment with those two sat in there. So it just, must win for Texans. And on the other side of it, you could say anything's a must win for Denver because you're desperate to stay ahead of Kansas City. Not so much the Chargers. Obviously, you need to stay ahead of both, but I feel like staying ahead of the Chiefs is so imperative, isn't it?
Yeah, obviously play each other twice as well, so you want to try and get a lead in that sense. Patrick Surtain as well is out for the next 4 weeks. 4 games at least. That includes one of the Chiefs games, so they'll want to try and sneak wins wherever they can. I'll be interested in how that affects this game, actually. Broncos play a lot of man coverage. Texans have started to find some kind of joy with those wide receivers. They've got, 3 Iowa State wide receivers? 2 from that last year's team, and they've got Hutchinson as well. Xavier Hutchinson, who played pretty well last week. I wonder if the Broncos will be able to stick to man coverage when you're missing your best weapon. The points total, by the way, is 39.5. So it is low. They're really anticipating these defenses to completely dominate, which I have a sneaky feeling the Texans might have some offensive joy with some of those weapons. CJ Stroud playing a bit better. They've just got to be able to hold up enough on the offensive line, which is constantly going to be every single week we talk about the Texans. That'll be the problem. How do you think Bo Nix, will do in this game? He's been a bit up and down. He's the reason that I've probably been more critical of the Broncos. It feels like if he has a bad game here, can't be the stick to beat him with, but if he plays well here after how he did in the 4th quarter against the Giants and against the Cowboys last week, maybe Bo Nix is trending up like he was last season a bit more if this kind of continues. Yeah,
it's just a really tough game for him. This is the best defensive line he'll have seen this season. He has been shaky at times, but like we've said a few times, his 4th quarters have been great. So you can they'll want to hang in there and hope for kind of some of that magic. But I think this is going to be tough. To be honest with you, really, really tough. He's been erratic and overthrowing at times, to be honest with you. I wonder whether they kind of call a few more design runs in this game to get that line kind of guessing and moving around a little bit and get them in space. I think that would be helpful for Denver. This is a great game, by the way. It's 6 p.m. as well. I feel like this is a treat this week.
Yeah, Channel 5, I think, as well.
Oh, is it?
I think so, yeah. And we haven't mentioned the king of blocking tight ends as well is officially back. It's,
it is. 41.
Yeah, 41. That seems like it shouldn't matter either, but I guarantee you, when he plays, their running game will be better. It just will. That is just who he is. So yeah, I'm excited for this game as well. Like you said, big game for the Texans. Broncos will probably be aggressive at the trade deadline, so this is a big one. It's me to go first. I'm going to go with the home team. I'm going to go with Texans -1.5. I think you basically 1 point. If the team wins or loses by 1 point, that's rare. So I'm going to just say the Texans win the game. I think it'll be close. I actually like the points total to go over 39.5 slightly as well. But yeah, I'm just liking what I'm seeing from Stroud and the weapons. So I'm going to go for the Texans.
Yeah, big game for Stroud this week. Obviously, they've got to get back to 500 this week. I'm going Texans as well.
Nice. On to the other AFC game I mentioned then. 2 current playoff teams. We have the Colts at the Steelers. First kind of major test since the Rams game for the Colts, it feels like for me. Going on the road in Pittsburgh. And the Colts are favoured on the road by 3.5 points. So slightly more than a field goal. Steelers defense is getting ripped apart on every podcast or Twitter page you see. Colts offense is getting praised everywhere you look. I personally think Aaron Rodgers is playing pretty well. Daniel Jones is playing very well. Jonathan Taylor is probably Offensive Player of the Year. Again, this has got all the hallmarks of a quite entertaining game. But I don't know how this one's going to look. I think I know how the other one's going to look. There's going to be some good defensive plays. There's going to be quite a few punts, and then there'll be a few kind of explosive plays from either team. This game, I don't really know how it's going to look because I think Rodgers could deal up against that defense, but I don't trust the Steelers to stop them. But then again, the Steelers have got the most expensive defensive line in the NFL, so they should be able to get pressure. I just don't know how this game's going to look. This is the more entertaining one of the week for me.
Yeah, same here. I do fear a little for Pittsburgh in this game. I actually really like how Rodgers is playing. I think play-wise, this is a great kind of twilight of his career. I think they're going to have to knuckle down. Each win that they get feels hard-earned. It's not a recipe when you've got Baltimore chasing you. God, they'll be hoping that Miami can do them a favour tonight. But I saw a great conversation yesterday on that Sky Sports talk show that they have with Chris Sims on and Mike Florio about whether Mike Tomlin, a little bit like Andy Reid in Philadelphia, whether his voice has just got a little bit old now. And it's just, it was just an interesting conversation, actually, and just something that, because obviously the defense is playing really badly and he seems unwilling to do anything about it. When you're top of your division, you're not chasing, you're leading. So I think that's an interesting one to watch, to be honest. My feeling in this is, you said you didn't know how it was going to look. I think the Colts are going to come and run all over them. Jonathan Taylor looks absolutely incredible on the ground. And Daniel Jones is just feeding off of that, to be honest. I do think that this could be a bit of a bludgeoning on that side of the ball, to be honest. And then you've got to hope that Pittsburgh seem to be able to be in the mid-20s range of point scoring. I'm not sure how high that they can actually go against overall what's a good team.
Yeah, they'll be looking for another big DK game, right? Where he takes two 20-yard passes, 50 yards. That's kind of how they get from 23 points to 31. That's kind of the other way because, they played pretty well actually on the ground the last 2 weeks. But before that, as we spoke about, they've been a bit dead on the ground. So I think it's hard to know what they're going to look like. But I think Rodgers will play pretty well. Colts' defensive line is good, but it's not, it's not world beater. What's your thoughts on... I agree with the Tomlin stuff. It's quite funny because Florio is from Pittsburgh as well, so he probably knows some people inside the organization. But the defensive line is the highest paid in the NFL. TJ Watt's name's not getting mentioned a lot. Nate Herbig's is. Highsmith is, but he keeps getting hurt. Cam Hayward's obviously really old, could be his last season. If for them to stand any chance of winning this game and winning the division, does that defensive line need to just be like, world beaters? Because it doesn't feel like Tomlin's going to change the scheme, right? So is it just going to rely on those 4 or 5 players to be what they should be in terms of pay?
It's a bit scary, though, isn't it, when you're relying on players as elite as somebody like a TJ Watt is, that you're just going to rely on just being better and changing nothing else is quite worrying, really, in terms of like you're starting. It's not to bring anything back to kind of your own team, but it feels a little bit Philadelphia in a month ago in kind of the passing game. Well, if we keep doing the same things, eventually we'll get better. I'm not sure that that's the best way to go. Sometimes you have to kind of be brutal, even though Steelers got a winning record. Obviously, the defense is really slacking. Yeah, they do need to play better, but it feels like they kind of need to scheme up a little something else and get a bit of rotation going on there. Cam Hayward's still playing well, but like you're saying, it's long in the tooth now. It's obviously getting up his age. So it's worrying when Steelers football's been built on that for a long time. When that slacks off, it's like, what else is kind of compensating for that?
Yeah, and there's so many rumours about them trading for a wide receiver. They almost know that the offense is the way they're going to be able to win games, which is not traditionally what you've said about the Steelers. Cool. Let's pick the game then. You to go first. Colts -3.5.
I'm going Colts. I'm definitely going Colts. I just think Jonathan Taylor, 200 all-purpose yards again, probably.
Do I do it? Yeah. I've got a lead here, so I should just follow your pick, so I'm not sure. I'm going to go Steelers. Steelers plus 3.5. I feel like they're either going to win the game or get absolutely whacked. I think there's much in between for the Steelers. I'm going to go. They're going to try and sneak out a win. Aaron Rodgers is going to play really well, and the defense isn't going to hold up. But maybe a couple of turnovers on that side of the ball just is the difference for the Steelers. I'm going to go for them. Home. It feels like it's an important game for them. With the Ravens, for me, likely winning on Thursday Night Football. They could both be 6-5 by the time they play each other if they're not careful. So I think the Steelers will be trying hard to steal a win. On to the other games then at 6 p.m. We'll rattle through these because some of these are bad games. There's one more at the end we might spend a bit more time on, but we'll go to Cincinnati first. We have the Bears at the Bengals. Joe Flacco may not even play in this game with his shoulder injury, that sounds bad, but that's a concern. The Bears are favoured on the road by 2.5 points. It's me to go first. I'm going to go with the Bears minus 2.5. Kale's playing okay. Some big mistakes still, but he's playing okay. Run game looks pretty good. Roma Dunze looks good. I think the defense is overrated. It's the most any team turnover-wise has had through 8 weeks of NFL season. So I think that's going to regress, but I'm not sure it's going to regress against, I think you forgot his name now, Jake Browning, if he's the starting quarterback. I'm going to go with the Bears.
I'm going with the Bears as well. I did see after Florio had stopped talking about the Steelers, he went on to the Bengals defense, which is 32nd overall in total defense in the NFL. Yeah. So I think Ben Johnson can do enough in this game to get the Bears over the line. But don't really trust Chicago, but they're going to end this game probably with a win and with a decent record. Still kind of sniffing around mid-season for the playoffs, which is probably what they would want at the start.
Yeah, if they're the AFC, they'd have a great chance of making a 6th or 7th seed for sure. NFC is just so tight at the moment. On to a all NFC matchup. We have the 49ers at the Giants. Classic Jersey matchup. This is old school NFC. 49ers are favoured on the road, as you'd expect, but only by 2.5 points. Yeah, which felt a little bit light to me, which might tell you where I'm going. It is you to go first. No Scatterboo. Jackson Dart's going to be sad on the sidelines. Where are you going with this one?
Yeah, so sad his injury. Obviously, back next season, and we can all kind of enjoy him again. He's probably been the most fun rookie alongside Dart this season. It doesn't help Tomlin's Daboll's PR case, by the way. Obviously, there's not going to be many wins this season anyway, but he had 2 rookies that people could relate to, and one of them's gone now for the year. And that's tough sledging now for a man who looked under pressure in Philadelphia last week. But, 49ers, loads of injuries, but it's a small spread. And I'd expect enough CMC, enough George Kittle. I still don't know who's at quarterback this week for San Francisco. But
you say that every week.
I know, yeah, because I'm waiting. Because in my Scott Fish Bowl, I have Mac Jones and Brock Purdy, and I'm like waiting for Purdy to get back in my god-awful team. Yeah, too much Kittle, too much CMC. I'll go San Francisco.
Yeah, I'm going to go San Francisco too. I think this will be a big CMC game. I think we could be nearing towards some Giants players being traded on Monday or Tuesday after this game. And it's quite ironic that an Eagles fan is the man talking about Cam Scatterboo after they deliberately hurt him, so saying on the internet. There we go.
He got a standing ovation leaving the stadium.
He did. Very rarely you see that from a non-Eagles fan. Over to the AFC then. This game I thought at the start of the season might be fun, but it is not fun. Chargers at the Titans. Chargers are favoured on the road by 9.5 points. It's a big spread on the road. Quickly wanted to mention, I've forgotten his name now. McCoy, maybe? The Titans interim head coach.
Yeah, Mike McCoy.
Yeah, 3 different interviews we've been hearing from this fella. And they're talking about why doesn't he speak to the team first? And he was just like, I'm just here to be the interim coach. I kind of do what I'm told. Then someone asked him about running the football, and then he said some comments about running the football. And then his third thing was, I'm just kind of here to do what I get told. And I'm like, oh my God, the interim head coach seems to have any power to make any decision. The Titans are all over the place. But it is a big spread. I think Justin Herbert, the Madison Bear, Justin Herbert era is truly here. He's been to Lakers games, Clippers games, Dodgers games. He's all over the place. So I'm going to go for Chargers minus 9.5. I just can't be picking. I can't be picking at Titans until I actually see the team play a bit better. But it is a big spread. I wouldn't put any real money on this spread.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with you there. One thing I will say though, since if you play fantasy football, since Callahan got fired, Mary DK is wide receiver 11. So go pick him up if you haven't. I've been snatching him in every single league this season. I know it's for Tennessee, but hey, a lot of usage. But I've got to go the Chargers. And by the way, I know Justin Herbert has been going, is that what you want if you're the Lakers or the Clippers or the Dodgers? He ain't a serial winner, is he? Do you know what I mean? When you see those kind of stars rock up at courtside, he has got obviously an incredibly beautiful girlfriend, but you're not a serial winner. I'd be like, go and see the other team down the road.
Yeah, him and Austin Reeves feel like they can become friends. By the way, the fact that you've picked up DK in so many leagues shows you why your Scott Fishbowl team is terrible.
Oh, it's a shocker, mate. It's really bad. It's a shame this year.
Also next year. Over to the NFC North then, a game that, to be honest, I thought before the season would be really good. Does not look as strong. Although I'm still hopeful it could be a good red zone game. We have the Vikings at the Detroit Lions. JJ McCarthy practicing full. He's back. Carson Wentz's shoulder has been sacrificed. He's off for the season. And the Lions are favoured at home by 8.5 points, which I think last year that this exact game was 3.5. And that's where I thought it would be maybe 5 weeks ago. But the Vikings every week are trending in the wrong direction. The defense isn't playing well. The quarterback position has been a nightmare, and now they've got to play JJ. And the Lions are, I think, number 1 or number 2 in most people's power rankings. So I hope this game could be good. On paper, I'm not sure it will be. It's you to pick first. 8.5 against Florida's defense. Is that too much, or are you happy to go with the Lions?
It's a lot, but what I will say is combining Texans, Broncos, Steelers, Colts, 2 great 6 p.m. red zone games with JJ McCarthy being back for his 3rd ever NFL start. I think this is a great third wheel sort of thing to see, because I know a lot of people on my timeline are going to be watching this game. So I might me to go first. I'm picking the Detroit Lions. Let me tell you, I'm not at all sure what we're going to see from Minnesota and JJ McCarthy, but I can't wait to see it. To be honest with you, there is a lot of skepticism in Minnesota, but it's a really dicey situation. It looks tricky because obviously he was such a high draft pick, out all year last year, played 2 games at the start, had a really fun comeback against Chicago. But apart from that, looked awful. And he really did look bad. But, 3rd start after his injury. I think this is really, really intriguing. And Detroit don't let up, do they? When they've got a lead, home division game. So let's see. I'm going Detroit on the spread, though.
Yeah, me too. Just can't go with JJ. First game back, obviously, from an injury. Wasn't playing that well before the injury, unfortunately for him. And the Lions, they're playing well at the moment. Brian Branch is back for this game as well, so he's got a lot he'll want to prove a lot. And, his opportunity to go pick a rookie quarterback, or basically a rookie quarterback's kind of sat there for him. So, I'll go for Lions minus 8.5 as well. I do want the Vikings to be better, though. The NFC's more fun down the stretch if you look at the Vikings' schedule, if they can get better. So.
The Vikings' schedule from now is absolutely amazing if they actually become something. Obviously, this week, Lions, and they go Ravens, Bears, Packers, Seahawks, Commanders, Cowboys. Great schedule. So if JJ McCarthy get a couple of wins and a bit of hype, it'll be a lot of fun. But if he's bad, then we'll see.
Yeah, some weird stories of Kevin O'Connell as well starting to come out this week, which is interesting. So Vikings need to turn it around a bit. On to the biggest spread of the 6 p.m. window then, Panthers at the Packers. Packers are favoured by 13.5 points. Andy Dalton, I assume, the way he played last week, is me to go first. I wouldn't normally be picking. We've actually got 2 massive spreads here in this one. We've got one coming up. I wouldn't normally want to pick 2 high spreads, but I am going to have to pick the Packers because if Dalton's playing, the way he looked last week is an absolute disgrace. I've got to go for the Packers. I think Jordan Love's playing pretty well. Christian Watson's now back from the ACL. So I think the offense will score points. So, I'll go Packers minus 13.5.
I've just had a quick look here before I go my thing. Bryce Young did practice yesterday. It's early. I don't know how many differences we've got so far this week. Just the Steelers, right? Give me the Carolina Panthers. I'll take that plus 13.5. I know that if it is Andy Dalton, all that, then I'll just have to hang on. A few busted coverages on the running game. Rico Dowdle for a few kind of big long runs, and all of a sudden you need a lot of points. So let's go with that.
I like the optimism. I like it. On to the last game, the 6 p.m. window then. This is probably the fourth game in that top 4 games. It'll be on people's multi-view for sure. We have the Falcons at the Patriots. The game looked a little bit better a couple of weeks ago with the way Penix has been playing. Patriots are only favoured by 4.5 points. Falcons obviously definitely in contention for playoff place. Got some top talent, quite fun to watch. But Penix is a bit up and down, mate. So we've got Penix versus Drake May. I think a month ago, this would look a bit better. But these two teams felt they're going in a different direction. But I'm still hopeful we could get a good red zone game here.
No, I think so. I think this is the best 6 p.m. slate we've had for maybe a month, to be honest with you, especially if Atlanta turn up in this game. Obviously, we've got the resurgence of the Patriots and Drake May's top whatever you always tell me each week, and he seems to climb up the MVP ladder. But yeah, it should be a fun game. He's Penix this week again, isn't it? I saw Ryan Morris say that we don't want Kirk back, I'm afraid, anymore. It was not a good sight last week, was it? So, yeah. It'd be a fun game. Hoping to get Bijan going. He was under 40 yards last week.
Yeah, let's get Bijan going. Drake London, I think, might be back for this game. Kyle Pitts, 10th in fantasy score points, so he's having a good season. The Falcons have to score 30 points to win. So let's hope for a fun game. But it is you to go first.
What's the spread again?
4.5 Patriots.
I'm going to go for the Atlanta Falcons.
That's a road shout.
Let's keep it close. Falcons they've knocked off a couple of good teams this season. But the Patriots are due a surprising loss. I'm going to go Falcons +4.5.
That Michael Penix pick 6 first drive is going to hit differently.
You know it's coming.
I'm going to go for Patriots -4.5 because I keep telling you, Drake May. He's a prodigal son. He's going to be, when me and a guest do a top 10 quarterback rankings in April, he's going to be in the top 5 for the way he's playing at the moment. So yeah, let's go for Drake May. Stephon Diggs, 100 yards. Come on, let's go for Drake May. On to Sunday then, 9 p.m. window. Let's go for two bad games first. One of these spreads, I cannot believe. You're going to have to give me 30 seconds on how this is the spread. So we'll start there. Jags at the Raiders.
It is going to be good.
Maybe I've oversold this, but I don't understand this. Jags are favoured on the road, as they should be. 2.5.
Wow.
Why are they favoured by 2.5? Is this me? Am I just still overestimating the Jags, do you think? Or is this Vegas overestimating Vegas? Because the Raiders have not been a good football team and do not look well coached on any side of the ball. I can't understand how that's under a field goal.
No, I can't either, to be honest. I know the Jags got whacked last time out in London, but they feel like, fortuitous or not, having beat Kansas City, I think should give you a little bit more respect for that. And I'd expect Jacksonville to, if they don't bounce back in this game, you can kiss goodbye to the South, to be honest, if the Colts win and then the Texans are kind of back level pegging with you. So, yeah, I'm shocked at that, to be honest with you. I weren't quite sure what you was going to say then, but
Raiders favoured by 10.
Yeah. Raiders, unfortunately, look like the worst coached team in the league, apart from Tennessee, which is really sad. And you got Pete Carroll. And, by the way, Chip Kelly is the most expensive offensive coordinator in the league. That's not going well. He's going to be back in college somewhere next season, probably in the Big Ten again. So we'll see what happens there. But, yeah. Oh, my God. Jacksonville have got to win this game, right?
They've got to win this game, yeah. Liam Cohen's doing speeches in front of the team about every play that he called wrong. I don't know if you've seen that video going around.
No.
He stood up in front. Yeah, he was like, here's the play call we ran. And he's like, and then he basically spent 5 minutes from each one berating himself of why the hell did I call that, and saying that I've basically ruined it all for you. So he's taking a lot of blame there, but they do have to win this game. It feels like he's under a bit of internal pressure from himself to try and win some games. So yeah, we're both on the Jags. I just can't see how the Raiders can be less than a field goal against anyone not named the Titans or Jets, to be honest. I don't understand that one. On to the biggest spread of the week then. His debut, the man I mentioned earlier. The Saints at the Rams. The Rams are favoured at home by 14.5 points against the 26-year-old rookie. Yes,
the vet.
That is the age. The man has had 3 season-ending surgeries. He's got knees. He's got knees like Michael Jordan in his 50s on NBC, sat on the sofa with Mike Tirico. 14.5's a lot. It's me to go first. I've got to pick 14.5. Rams by -4.5. I hate the spread. Uka might play, might not. Vay's not famous for pouring it on. He'll probably run the ball a lot if they get a lead. I didn't like him in college. I've got a bit of vendetta because they dropped my boy Spencer Rattler. So I'm going to go for the Rams -14.5.
Yeah, quickly. I'm going Rams as well. But quickly on the benching, I don't understand because it looked like you got something there. I don't know whether because it was Schuff came in the second round, you foolishly picked him in the second round. You feel like you need to have a look before maybe you're thinking we're top 3 in the draft this season, unless Tyler Shuck's going to win us 7 games, and then you're over the moon or whatever. Yeah, strange one for me, but I don't think it's going to end well for him. But good luck to the guy. Obviously, he's a plucky young 26-year-old rookie, isn't he? So good luck to him. But I'm going the Rams, and I think they'll be picking a quarterback in April.
I know if he does play well, to have the sheer mental fortitude to get injured all those years in a row, and now still
sure.
It's great. But I just don't think he's that good. But let's hope for his sake that I'm wrong. They have done now. It's worked for the Colts, so it's ironic that I'm comparing the two situations. But they have done what the Colts did, and when they've also named the starter, they've gone for the whole season. I don't know if you've seen this. Kellen Moore said, no matter what, he will be the starter for the rest of the season.
Big words.
That's an owner's decision, I think, personally. But
yeah,
we'll see. Maybe he'll play well in this game. But we'll both go Rams minus 14.5. I think Jared Verse could have some fun going against the Saints. On to the big game then. 2 best quarterbacks in the NFL. Chiefs at Bills. I don't know what spread do you think I'm going to say here?
I think the Chiefs should be favoured by a small amount, 1.5.
Close. Chiefs are favoured by 2.5.
Yeah, I was going to say 2.5 as well. Yeah.
I was slightly surprised when Buffalo haven't played well recently, just because the Chiefs were underdogs against the Eagles and the Ravens and the Lions at one point. But yeah, it is Chiefs minus 2.5 in Buffalo. Are we niche enough for me to talk about the Chiefs signing Mike Pennell? I don't think I can get away with talking about that. Let's go over to you as the neutral. How do you think this game could look on both sides of the ball? What are you expecting? Because I'm sure this will be on your big screen on Sunday, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, he's not battling much, is it, in the rest of the slate? Not watching a Tyler Shuck, but my big thing is, right, the Bills sit with a better record. We know the Chiefs are the Chiefs, but just taking this season, right, they're more battle-tested in this roster. They've had a much more difficult schedule. The Bills' wins have come against really, really bad teams. And then when they came up against the Patriots and then even the Falcons, you wouldn't say was a good team. They did not look at that level of AFC winner. So it's interesting for me. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to get out of Buffalo, especially on the defensive side. They are small on defense anyway. And obviously Ed Oliver is out, isn't he now, indefinitely. Yeah. This feels tough for Buffalo. I think the Chiefs are right to be favoured on the road. And ordinarily, when these two guys play each other at whatever stadium in the regular season, I would say it seems to be fair that the home team would be favoured really slightly. But this time around, I do think it's fair that the Chiefs are favoured. And I think the run game, I know Pacheco's going to be out, but I just feel like the run game could bully the Bills as the game goes on, to be honest.
Yeah, you're right. There's a few injuries, I think, on defense, but Ed Oliver's a big one. And I think you mentioned it in the preseason that you're worried about the size of the defensive line. They got 2 of the guys back last week because they had 2 players that were suspended for whatever it was, 6 or 7 weeks, and they still didn't play well against the run. It's just that Andy Dalton was just horrific, as we mentioned earlier. But you're right. I think the total in this game compared to when they met in the playoffs reflects a lot. It's gone up. It's 52.5. Second highest total of the week. That's a big total for this year. I think that reflects that the way the Bills play on offense, normally every game generates a lot of points against the Chiefs, right? Josh Allen runs it a lot. The Chiefs linebackers are good against normal running teams, but against quarterbacks, they just can't get to Josh Allen. But I think because the Chiefs offense is so much better and the Bills defense is slighter, like you said, I think that the game will be high points scored for whoever wins.
Yeah.
Whereas I think last year I would have said that it's going to be whoever has the ball last in the mid-20s. It feels like it could be 33-30 this game to me. Right. That's how I feel like it could look, at least.
Yeah, and I think it'll be interesting to see whether Buffalo can kind of slice and dice when they're in the passing game. I think the run game will have a lot of success. James Cook looks great, doesn't he? But you're combining that with Allen's threat on the ground, which I'm expecting a heavy dose of that this week. Always works in kind of a big game, doesn't it? Most teams that can roll out a quarterback like that, Chiefs have done it with Mahomes more this season, and the Eagles do it, and obviously Lamar and things like that. So I'd expect a heavy dose of that. It's one that it's in the passing game. They can continue the success. It's not been high volume for Josh Allen, really, is it all? But it has been successful. So for me, it's kind of just like maybe limiting your bad plays that he kind of is prone to in a bit of prime time in a pressure game. But yeah, I'm really excited, to be honest, about this game. I think it's going to tell me more about Buffalo than it is Kansas City.
Yeah, I think I'd agree, because I think if the Bills win, just say they win by a touchdown, I think without Pacheco, I'll bring home a lot of touches. The Chiefs might trade for a running back. I feel like the Chiefs aren't the team to take advantage as much now in the run game as they would in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Whereas if they play the Colts in the playoffs, Jonathan Taylor might have 200 yards. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like you're right. I feel like you'll learn more from Buffalo, because I don't think the Chiefs are set up. Trey Smith's still injured. Josh Simmons isn't there. Kareem Hunt's probably going to have 15 carries at the whatever age he is. It feels like they're not really set up for that. So yeah, I'd agree with you. And there's quite an interesting. I know that Andy Dalton was the reason for this. But there was I don't know if you've seen this on Twitter, but it was going around. I think he had 11 completions last week, Josh Allen. He had 3 scramble plays, 6 screens, and then a couple of quick outs. Nothing down the field, and that's been the problem. Like you said, the volume down the field has not been there. I think in this game, Josh Allen will try and push it down the field. So I think you'll learn a lot if you're someone who either thinks the Bills are rubbish and overrated, or if you think the Bills are really good. I think this game will prove a lot to the neutrals. But yeah, I'm sure I'll be swearing at my TV. It's got to be Romo as well. Romo loves these 2 quarterbacks. I'll be disappointed if it's anyone else but Romo.
Yeah, I'm not sure who the team is on comms this week, to be honest.
No,
I think CBS. I think the Bills need this game. And I don't mean need it to win. Of course you want to win. That goes without saying. But I think they need to be more battle-tested now coming into the end of the season. The schedule has been a cakewalk so far. Great to have an easy schedule. You also need to learn how to play the good teams, because you're going to play them in January, whatever happens. Yeah, I can't wait for this game. It's going to be good. I'm glad nothing else is spoiling it at the same time.
Patrick Mahomes also saying going to be his last game at Highmark Stadium as well. So I think we could get a good Patrick Mahomes game in this one, I hope. I'll be sat in a Premier Inn watching this on an iPad, so that's a bit of a nightmare for me, but there we go. Cool. It's you to go first. Conveniently left this one up to you. Chiefs minus 2.5 is our spread.
Yeah, I'm going to go Chiefs. Until I've learned more about Buffalo against a good team, I'm going to stick with Kansas City.
Yeah, I don't want to be annoyed twice to this game, so I'll just pick the same as you, so I don't, can't lose any ground. So I'll go Chiefs minus 2.5 as well. I think Josh Allen will play really well in this game, but I think I'm with you. The injuries on defense might be too much for the Bills. 2 games left then. Sunday Night Football, we have the Seahawks at Commanders. This game looks better before Jaden Daniels' first injury. He's back for this week. Looks like he's going to play. I thought Mariota did actually okay, but it's not, it's not Jaden Daniels. Seahawks are favored on the road by 2.5. Seattle are playing pretty well, man. But they're a bit of a strange one. When they played a big game, they have actually lost a couple of big games where they played well in. The Steelers, I think, was the Steelers? Lost someone like that, and they lost obviously to the Buccaneers. It feels like they are a team everyone believes are going to be a playoff team, and they look really, really good. But again, on the road to the Commanders team that are banged up on defense, feels like the Seahawks have got to win this to kind of again prove they're a top NFC contender, and maybe a team that could win the division.
Yeah, Seahawks' best win comes against Houston so far, I'd say, this season. Obviously, they beat the Jags. They have beat the Steelers in week 2, I want to say that was. And yeah, they're a funny team. They feel like a 7th seed. You wouldn't be enamoured with them coming into your house as if you were the 2nd seed and they were the 7th. But I'm expecting them to beat up on Washington, to be honest with you, this week. Yeah, Mariota played absolutely fine in the first half against the Chiefs, but there's no run game from Washington at all. Like last season, there were obviously the threat of Daniels, but that doesn't feel like the wisest thing for the franchise to be doing is calling more kind of design runs for Jaden Daniels this season. So they've got a really tricky schedule, but I'm expecting Sam Darnold, big game from Sam Darnold this week. He handled, by the way, Houston's defense pretty well the other week. So I think that'll be the best that he sees. So I think that, I'm expecting a good performance from him and from Seattle this week.
Yeah, second half obviously took Mahomes to play really well, but other teams have done well on the ground, and Seattle will go on the ground. They'll run the ball a lot. They'll play action. They'll boot it out. They play 2 tight ends, the 3rd most amount in the NFL. So I think there'll be a different style of football. I think for the Commanders to win, Jaden needs to be fully healthy and play extremely well, and he can do that. But until I see it, it feels like Seattle are the team in this one. Jackson Smith-Njigba as well, by the way, another player. I know we said Jonathan Taylor. Offensive Player of the Year. Big chance of Offensive Player of the Year. He leads the league in yards by 100 yards across the NFL. I feel like he could probably take advantage of the Commanders secondary for sure in this game. It's me to go first. It sounds like we're on the same page here. I can't quite go with the Commanders. I didn't pick them to make the playoffs in the end. I had them missing out as my 8th seed. And I think injuries have made that look better pick than maybe it was. Until I see them play well for a whole game, I've just got to go with Seattle. I think the run game will be good.
I'm going with Seattle. I'm fuming because do you remember the day that we did our NFC East podcast and I had 2 teams left? The day before, Parsons got traded. So I couldn't pick Dallas. Now, I wouldn't have had Dallas in the playoffs. Now, I don't think they'll make it. But I did say on the pod, I'll stick with Washington. But I had a feeling that they were going to have a letdown season. And I feel like that's what we're in the midst of, to be honest with you. The schedule's pretty tough coming up. And they look disjointed. They've lost 4 or 5. And, yeah, I'm going Seattle in this one as well. Dropping Washington to 3-6 after the NFC Championship game.
You look devastated to say that.
Devastated, I am.
We both took the Cowboys out last second.
We did, yeah, we did.
You put the Commanders in, I put the Vikings in. Neither look great.
Yeah.
Neither look great for that day. On to Monday Night Football then, only one game again. This is the biggest total of the week, 54 points. Says a lot about the defenses, I think, not the offense of one of the 2 teams. But we have the Cardinals at the Cowboys. Kyler Murray is back. Cowboys are favored at home by 2.5 points. He's actually never lost in A&T Stadium, Kyler Murray, because he played there all the time at college and high school, is where he's from. He's never ever lost there, which is a stat you're going to see mentioned on the broadcast about 10 times. 2 teams that can't really defend. One offense, I think, that's very good. One that's up and down, but they can, they've got Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison. They can score points. This will probably be a fun game, but I don't think these 2 teams are going to end up mattering it, unfortunately, at the moment. So, it's you to go first, actually. I know where I'm picking, but I think I know where you're going to go with this one.
Yeah, well, interesting what you should say on Kyler Murray, because if anyone doesn't know, probably doesn't follow like high school football, he's the greatest ever Texas high school quarterback. So when the lights are on, he kind of goes back to when he was 16 and he looked like the greatest quarterback that was ever going to live. Yeah, he's had a strange career, really. I think interesting to see what happens with the Cardinals in the summer. I said the other week when they played, they'd lost 4 games by a combined 9 points, and then they lost to the Packers by 4 points, and then they've been on the bye. So that's 13 points that they lost 5 games in. High-powered offense that they're playing, though, this week. Javonte Williams, obviously. They want to bounce back, Dallas, to be honest with you. They played a great defense in Denver, and they got beat up, to be honest. It was Dak's worst game of the season. There was nothing there with Jake Ferguson, and they wrapped up Javonte well. So I'm going to go Dallas, I think, but I expect a close game. And nice to see. I think Jonathan Gannon, by the way, goes under the radar because we don't talk about Arizona a lot in general in the media. He's somebody who's in the spot of trouble.
100%. Yeah, 100%. I forgot that stat, by the way, about how many points they'd lost games by. Crazy. Feels like a really important rest of the season for Kyler Murray. But yeah, we're both going with Dallas. They need to win this game as well if they want to be not a contending team, but a playoff team. It feels like, they can't not win this game. So yeah, we'll go with the Cowboys. And that's it for the picks for the episode for week 9. We have 3 differences, all in the 6 p.m. window. So that means when I'm watching the Chiefs, I can chill and not worry about any differences that we've got.
It's the best block. It's the worst block to watch your team in. It's PM now. You get to relax.
It is. We have got me picking the Steelers plus 3.5. Patrick picking the Colts minus 3.5. I've gone with the Packers minus 13.5. Patrick's gone with the Panthers plus 13.5. I've gone with the Patriots minus 4.5. Patrick's gone with the Falcons plus 4.5. So I'm relying on the Steelers, Packers, and Patriots. Patrick's relying on the Colts, Panthers, and Falcons. I think I quite like how that sounds from my perspective there. I think I've done it right there. But we'll see. This is where you win 2-1 or something. Drive me mad for this week. Cool. We did say we'd end the episode with a bit of trade talk. We've actually got Lee Wakefield coming on the pod next week to talk about some team stuff and what he's been seeing in the NFL season. So me and him will break down in detail any trades that do happen. Let's just quickly talk about teams that are going to be buyers and sellers, and then we'll throw some names out. Let's go with buyers. We could just look at the standings, but any particular teams that you think are buyers from a you're going to have to probably be a good team to be a buyer, but maybe they've got cap space, maybe they'll win now, maybe they've got glaring holes. Like, what are a couple of teams you think are definite buyers?
I'll give you one from the NFC, and their main rival in the division, heavily bought at the start of the season in the Packers. I'm going the Lions. I think the Lions need a little bit extra on defense. I know they just signed Hutchinson to a huge deal. Another edge rotation guy and a cornerback, I think, would be a great pickup for Detroit. There's a lot of good teams in the NFC. It's going to be difficult to make the playoffs in the NFC. However, when you are there, like we've spoke about, it doesn't feel an elite team. Certainly not Philadelphia. I don't think it's Green Bay either. So for me, Detroit, add a piece on defense like that they can get in a trade, and I think they'll be looking good.
Yeah, agreed. They're on my list. They've got some big needs, obviously defensive end, corner, all the injuries. And then actually, I don't know if they'll do this, but interior offensive line has been not an issue because they're still really good, but it's not been as strong as it was last year. So they're sort of positions we could see them targeting. I'm going for basically maybe more but they are more desperate. But I said I'm going to go for the Lions of the AFC, a team that hasn't won in a long time that needs to win. I'm going to go with Buffalo. They're in a relatively good position, cap space. If they pick a player that's more of a short-term pick, they cut a lot of cash in the future last off-season. Some of the roster are quite old. For me, I think they are a team that, again, schedule's pretty kind. AFC isn't as strong. Burrow and Lamar might both not make the playoffs. So even though you've got to go against the Colts or Mahomes or whatever, I feel like the Buffalo Bills, again, they're very aggressive, normally one move a year. Feels like I think they'll do that again. Secondary's a big need for them. Defensive tackle, now they've lost Ed Oliver, is huge. And then wide receiver, seems to be the position that everyone's talking about. And when people do mock trades, it's always a wide receiver to Buffalo. So they'd be my first team that I thought was a one to mention.
Yeah, I agree with you, especially in the. I am not sure I'd be looking at a wide receiver trade unless it was a really, really beneficial move on defense, certainly, especially at safety. I saw earlier before we started that Micah Hyde is going to play this week, and I just think that it's not a great situation to be in, is it? You don't want that letting down what your offense is going to be again and kind of making excuses for that. So, yeah, I totally agree with you there.
Yeah. A couple of other teams for me in the NFC, the Eagles just made a trade. Michael Carter from the Jets.
Carter, yeah.
Yeah, John Mechie, RIP to the dream. He's gone back over to the AFC. Michael Carter, by the way, also, this is not just an anti-Eagles take to annoy you, but he gave up $5 million in injury guarantees for his contracts to make this move happen. I feel like that is a very silly thing for a young NFL player to do in a sport where how many people get injured on a Sunday? Like 10, 15 that we watch. But he's a good player, but I don't think the Eagles will stop there. I think Eagles and Rams, two teams that spend loads of money, make loads of trades, have great GMs, probably two best in the NFL, very aggressive head coaches. I think the Eagles and the Rams will both make one more at least move, maybe for a big-time pass rusher or another weapon on offense. I feel like they're just aggressive teams, I think.
I would be surprised if it came on offense, if it was Philadelphia. I do think edge is going to be the one. I don't think swapping in Brandon Graham for Zadarius Smith, who retired and then unretired for Graham's sake, he's going to move the needle that much. But Eagles not going to win the Super Bowl with the pass rush that they currently have. So Jalix Hunt, playing absolutely fine. He's playing up to the level that we thought he was going to do, but it's not going to go over and above beyond that. So pieces needed. Rams, I totally agree. They signed a cornerback, didn't they? They could do with kind of a linebacker as well for kind of run stopping issues. But I agree with you. They're two aggressive teams, and you have to admire taking the swing, don't you, kind of in mid-season if you're going to kind of give up a mid-round pick. I'm hoping the Eagles, it sounds stupid, don't go in for a weapon, trade in like a decent pick, I would say. Like, Tank Bigsby cost 2 late-round picks, and finally we unearthed him last week against the Giants. It feels trickier to get a weapon in, an offensive weapon in, to make them useful than it does a defensive plug-and-play player.
Think any chance that AJ Brown does get traded?
Surely not. That would be absolute off-season. We'll see what happens. If he gets traded now, it'd be a meltdown because it would have to be a player coming back
Yeah,
not just a draft pick, because that's not going to, you can't put that on the field in January. So it would be, no, surely not, no.
Who knows? We'll see. And then, Colts again, another team that, have got the money that could be aggressive. The Chiefs always make a trade. I'm sure they'll definitely make a trade. Denver and Green Bay, two teams that don't traditionally make big trades, but probably have needs that they could do. I think there's some interesting ones there. And then, the NFL media keeps saying that the Chargers and Patriots are both going to probably target running backs, actually, is the rumors today on Twitter. So,
I saw from a few Patriots beat writers that they're apparently going to be very aggressive. They like their chances of, they probably like the way that Buffalo look as well, and they're ahead in the division. So, especially they lose to the Chiefs this week and New England win. It's a 2-game advantage, midway through the season. They'll want to be aggressive, which is, by the way, most disappointing running back room in football.
Yeah, so I think they might make that move.
Yeah.
Somewhere coming back, to be honest. Teams that are sellers then, I know we just say bad teams. The Browns will be sellers. They're actually quite smart as well, organizationally, unlike some of these teams. They will trade players because they've realized that they're not ready to win and they need draft picks. I think the Browns will be very smart and trade some players. I think the Giants should trade players and probably will. I think they're another kind of big candidate. For me, two other teams are the Cardinals and Bengals. Now, I'm not sure they'll both be smart, but the Bengals, I keep talking about Trey Hendrickson, but it's just like, just trade him. I think they're so silly if they don't get a big trade haul for him. And I think if you're the Cardinals and you think the head coach isn't long for the job, this is the time to probably cut your losses and trade, Calais Campbell type player, for example. Yeah, there's some sellers for me, because I think some of the other worst teams haven't really got many players to trade. I know there's probably one team you'll mention in a sec. Did anyone else stand out to you as teams that are sellers?
You got it. I can't remember whether you actually mentioned this, but it has to be Miami, because obviously I'd put Vegas in there, but apart from Jacoby Myers, there probably isn't a lot that could move the needle for someone. Maybe the guard, Powers Johnson, his name. Yeah, maybe him, but I can't see that mid-season. However, Miami feel like they've got some premium edge rushers that should be available, to be honest with you. Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb feel like I would be ecstatic if the Eagles traded for one of those guys without giving up too much. They feel like two of the best probably available players, despite whatever Miami are saying. They feel like the two of the best players available.
Yeah, good shout. And then the Jets as well, I should have mentioned as well. Jermaine Johnson, the other edge. The Miami guys plus Jermaine Johnson seem to be the ones people are talking about.
Breece Hall as well has had a lot.
I don't know if I see that one, but he's in the rumors, isn't he?
Yeah, he started posting weird stuff on Twitter as well, which either means he's getting a really bad extension, good for him, a bad extension for the Jets, or he might get traded.
Yeah, I did see that yesterday. And then, again, the Saints should be sellers, but they'll probably buy and trade for someone. That's just the way they are. So who knows? And these particular players, obviously, you mentioned the two edge rushers of Miami. We mentioned Breece Hall. I mentioned Trey Hendrickson, and you said Jacoby Myers. Any other names that jump out that you think have got like a really good chance to be traded?
Going back to New Orleans, right? Obviously, you got Alvin Kamara, who always comes up in trade discussions, and he always wants to stay in New Orleans. If that's not going to happen, I saw something, and I was like, a great ad. This, for me, feels like Buffalo, the Rashid Shaheed, right? He is turning into a really good mid-level NFL player, and I feel like somebody like Buffalo could get him for a nice price and kind of move around Khalil Shakir, because he can pick up the ball at anywhere. I feel like something like that would be an interesting trade worth doing, but probably would cost you, maybe a fourth.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's a good shout. Speaking of running backs as well, I think Tony Pollard from the Titans is another one that a lot of people have mentioned. They can save some good money if they trade him. Spears is actually out snapping him now on offense. Obviously, they need talent across the board, so I think that's probably another name. I know we've probably spoken about a lot of the names. In terms of the Browns, I mentioned them as my first team. Jerry Jeudy potentially, but I think the most likely ones is David Njoku. Now they've got Aaron Jr. And then Shelby Harris as well, the 34-year-old defensive tackle. Win now player, 1-year deal, won't cost you much money. It feels like Njoku and Shelby Harris type of players that kind of win now teams will try and approach. So Not loads of amazing names, but definitely some names across the board there that could make an impact to good teams.
This feels like, it's nothing like NBA trade deadline, is it? Obviously, both me and you love the NBA. This feels like it should get some decent movement because there is absolutely through 8 weeks no Super Bowl favourite, in my opinion. So
and there's more I think for me, less middle, more bad.
Yeah, exactly. Which makes getting the number one overall pick really hard, by the way, this year. But should be.
You are right about the NBA though. NFL teams are just less. They don't want to give up as much. I think the problem this year is like if your player's going to hit free agency and you know you're probably not going to re-sign him, not trading him is silly to me. But I agree with you. I think because the league's more flat up the top, there might be more trades this year, which could be exciting for us. Last question is, who's the best player that could be traded for you? Is there any exciting name you want to mention that if one of us gets it right, we can gloat on next week's pod?
I mean, if we're going best, you've already mentioned that probably the best player that probably has a 10% chance that AJ Brown gets traded. Obviously, I'd always err on the fact that 90% will always be 10%, but it's there, isn't it? It would have to be for the house. Apart from that, if I could press a button and get anybody traded, it would be Myles Garrett, who I think is living with regret from he'll never regret signing an extension for over 100 million or whatever, but to come out then for what he said and says how much it hurts not winning after doing his trade, he wanted out in the summer, didn't he? So if I could press a button on anybody, I would have Myles Garrett, but that's not going to happen, is it?
No, Max Crosby, another one. Not as good as the player you mentioned or I mentioned there with AJ Brown, but Jeffrey Simmons from the Titans. Apparently not.
That'd be a trade, yeah.
But I think he's a very good player. He's not going to be 2 first-round picks like Max Crosby would be, but he'd probably be a first or second-round pick. Feels like him or Quinnen Williams from the Jets for me are the best players that could get traded if Trey Hendrickson doesn't get traded.
Sick of hearing about Trey Hendrickson, by the way, all summer, and then he's done nothing in the season.
He's getting injured as well. They should just trade him. He'll be an Eagle now, and then you'll hear plenty about him on your podcast or whatever. But that's it. A bit of a whistle-stop tour of the trade deadline, but we'll talk about all the moves next week that happen in detail and go into depth on what that could mean for the rest of the season. But remember to go follow us at Go42Pod on Twitter/X. Go follow Patrick at MugsNFL to get any of your NFL-related gear. Enjoy a pretty fun week 9. We're not sure how many episodes we're going to have next week, but we can't record till probably Wednesday, so we won't be back till then. But that gives time for the trades to settle on Tuesday as well. So enjoy week 9, and we will speak to you all next week.
Speak to you soon, everyone.